to the Kiwimana Buzz.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this Kiwimana Buzz chat. And today we've got Kevin Inglin all the way from New Jersey, and he's in charge of a very good podcast called the Beekeeping Podcast. And hi Kevin, how are you today?
I'm good, Gary. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. We're streaming live on YouTube at the moment, so I'll just turn that off at the moment. So yeah, so there's a few people watching, hopefully, or in some cases maybe they're not. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think
Right.
you and I were having this discussion before we got started. This is a first run, so whatever happens, you have to remember it is live.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we'll have a lot of fun with this. You and I have been playing with the technology just a little bit, and well, you're in New Zealand and I'm in New Jersey, and that's quite a distance apart. So I think we'll have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're just talking before the show about the time difference because you guys are still on Saturday and we're Sunday afternoon, or Sunday almost lunchtime. So
Yep, just rolling in
here
for us.
yeah, and we're into summer and you guys are into winter. So best of both worlds. So we'll just make a start. So what? How did you get into beekeeping, Kevin, and what made you start beekeeping?
It's one of those situations where I was a follower, not a leader. My wife, Sharon, her parents kept bees, and when I first met her, I remember coming here and going up and seeing the hives and stuff, and I recall they had troubles with their bees, varroa mite and all that stuff, but I really didn't know much about it. The New Jersey Department of Agriculture hosted a course with Rutgers, one of the colleges here in New Jersey. When CCD came through, they wanted to increase the number of beekeepers in New Jersey. So they offered a free course, 3 days.
Oh, cool.
It was like a short course, and you got a hive and bees afterwards. And my wife took that opportunity and went and participated in that. And she actually started beekeeping, not me, but my youngest son, he just turned 13, joined Boy Scouts, and she went to go be a Boy Scout leader. And lo and behold, I started doing more and more with the hives, and next thing you know, I'm the beekeeper and she's the supporter. So,
Oh, okay. So you sort of changed hobbies.
yeah, we switched gears. I mean, I do participate somewhat in Scouts, but she's really the lead there with my son.
Yeah, you have a busy life, don't you? Because don't you also do soccer as well? Is it soccer training or something?
Yes, my one son graduated out of the program. He's in college, and my other son is playing, and I'm involved in both the board and as a coach. And we just finished our soccer season just before Thanksgiving here in the States.
Wow, that's fantastic. My partner Margaret, she's involved quite heavily in the beekeeping, so she'll probably come in a minute to say hello. So we'll see what happens with that.
I'm hoping we get to chat with her. I was just listening to your one podcast this afternoon. I walked out to look at my bees and see what they were doing. I had to bang on the hives to see if they would respond. One, they didn't come out at all. I was wondering if they were okay in there, and then all of a sudden they came out in mass. I had to kind of scream.
Oh, wow.
But, I had your podcast playing on my phone while I was wandering around looking at them.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we were listening to yours yesterday in the car. So, yeah, your most recent episode, which just came out, which is really good. So what's the next question? So what's one of your most exciting beekeeping experiences? Have you got anything to share? Like, have you ever had a swarm fall on you or anything exciting like that?
I think just about every opportunity goes out that gives you some sort of excitement, whether the bees chase you out of the yard or getting to meet Randy Oliver was pretty cool when he came here and did a meeting with us. He stayed with me, actually, and got to chat with him. I'm looking forward to going to the American Beekeeping Federation conference in January, and it's just one new experience after another, and I could say there's a couple opportunities where things got exciting. Most of them deal with bee stings, but it is exciting to open a hive and see something that you've never seen before, and get that first look at something that you haven't experienced. And I really enjoy, I could say the true excitement is going in the hives each time and really just having a good time digging in.
Yeah, and seeing how they're going and stuff. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think my record for bee stings is 8 in one day, so it's not so good. But recently it's been a bit better than that. So
you must get asked
we had a case.
How many times you get stung, right? Do you get asked?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, all the time. It's usually followed by
podcast that I've counted all year long, so I could keep a record, and it was 22 times this year. And I had to be careful today not to get stung and increase that number. But for the amount of bees that I handle and things that we do, I don't know. Some people I hear say they've been stung 5-6 times this year. I don't know how they do it, quite frankly. Mental stuff like you reach down to pick up a hive and you didn't know a bee was there, and it gets you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you grab the handles, I've done that and been stung here.
Yeah, on the fingers. Yeah. I hate being stung on the hands. Hate it.
Especially I know I got a sting on the very end of my index finger a couple of weeks ago, and it still aches a bit. I don't know what it is, but
usually when you pinch them in that manner too, they really get you deep, and then your finger hurts for days and weeks, as you said.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got stung last week on my arm, and that came out quite badly because I couldn't get it out because I didn't have a knife or anything with me, so it was sort of full impact. But that was funny because it was actually after we'd cleaned up and we were ready to leave the site. It was a remote apiary site we've got, and I was ready to go, and it just came along, landed on my arm and stung me, and then flew off. So it wasn't too happy. I think we just split the hives there, so they were a bit annoyed. I think it was kind of late in the day, so yeah.
We
fun and games.
Maintenance on our mentoring hives that we have for our Beekeepers Association, and we went up there, and let me tell you, we intruded the bees a lot, and they were really upset that day. And I was just joking with one of our members at our holiday meeting. We had a good laugh about they followed us all the way out the driveway. I remember getting in my car in my suit and driving down to the front and opening the doors to let the bees out before I could step out and take my suit off, because they just would not leave you alone in the yard. So it's one of those things where, as you just mentioned, sometimes you disturb them and they just don't particularly take to that,
Yeah, I've had that situation too, and you have to walk through a tree, like a bushy tree, and then they tend to ignore you after that. But yeah, I think once they've got your your scent or whatever, not happy, not a good thing. Oh yeah, no, because we met Randy Oliver last year. I think he came down to the NBA conference. I wouldn't know, it was a year before last actually. He's a great speaker, isn't he? We'll have to get him down here again sometime.
He's
very interesting guy.
In the United States, the Energizer Bunny. he just goes and goes. The time that we picked him up, and the unfortunate thing is I really didn't get to spend a lot of alone time to discuss with him a bunch of things. I think we rode maybe 20 minutes in the car from the venue to my house, but the whole time he was here, he was preparing his stuff, and even to the moment that he was walking on stage, he was doing research on his phone about some aspect of something that he had just put into his proposal, or into his presentation. And he was managing his business by phone while he was on off times, and he was just going and going and going. What an amazing individual for energy. I'd never seen anyone like him.
Yeah, I remember when he did the talk here, he actually said before, and he goes, I was going to speak about this, but now I'm going to speak about this because I've heard a lot of people complaining about this. And so he kind of changed his whole presentation, sort of like, the day before. So, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? he was talking about varroa mites and the fact that New Zealand's at you guys have had mites a lot longer than we have, so we're kind of like about 10 years behind you guys as far as the mites. So he was talking about that and how you have to live with the mites and stuff like that. So it was a really interesting talk. Gave us a lot of hope.
Is packed, and it's a little difficult to find stuff. So if you get a chance to sit with him and go through his presentation, the good thing about Randy is Randy's doing the work. He's doing the research, he's keeping bees, and he's out in the field every day. I've seen some of these presenters that are just rehashing other people's stuff, but with Randy, he's literally out with the bees every day. And, he could try things, and the proof is in the pudding from the research part. Now, I know that other universities and whatever do more formal research. He does do formal research in scientific ways or whatever, but he's up to his elbows and his arms every day in bees, and that just really makes a difference, I think. The funny thing about bees in the United States is it's almost all, in my opinion, geared toward the commercial industry, and it should be, of course, because they're the ones that are pollinating the almonds and soybeans and, all the other crops across, and you have to take care of the industry. But I don't know where the hobbyist like myself sits in that place, and all the research, all the data, all the information is coming and geared towards trying to solve the commercial problem in the U.S., and the hobbyist just kind of has to take what they can, distill it, and figure it out for their own use. I think people who are hobbyists and they start having this discussion about, CCD and whatever. If you control your varroa, if you take care of keeping them fed, and you cycle out your old comb and do all the basic stuff, it's not difficult as a hobbyist. It's a totally different problem set than when you're a commercial beekeeper. You know what I mean? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think they've got. I think as a hobbyist, you can do a lot more intensive things. You know what I mean? Like you can visit your hive every week or every 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Whereas the commercial people have got 5,000 hives, they can't do that kind of intensive organic stuff. That's what I'm finding anyway. I mean, we're struggling at the moment. We've got like 17 hives, so. Yeah, it's hard to get around them all every 2 weeks, especially in the summer months. But if you had like 5,000, it would be impossible. Yeah.
You're an IT guy. You got to have a busy schedule. I'm an IT guy too. So how the heck do you find time to work on your bees all the hours? That's probably the most challenging thing for me, because I'm out the door early in the morning. It's dark, and I don't get home until it's dark. And I'm a hobby beekeeper. I do it on the weekends pretty much. And if it rains on the weekends,
yeah, pretty much. That's how it works here too. The weekends, most times we do inspections. I'm lucky. I finish at 3:30 in the afternoon, so I can get home in time to do a little, like maybe one inspection. Because at the moment it's light here till 9 o'clock at night, being summer. So you can get a couple of things done in the afternoon. So yeah, you're right. If it's raining for 2 weeks,
it's dark till 8:30 sometimes during the summertime, and I do have the opportunity on occasion, if I sneak out of work at 6 o'clock, to get home. But I don't know. Part of getting stung sometimes is being lit up at night when the foragers are coming back home, because they defend the hive better than the guard bees.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I think that's why the best time to do it is when all the foragers are out, because they're the most aggressive bees. Because you tend to find nurse bees are quite placid, and they won't be aggressively and sting you, like flying at you and stuff. That's what I find. Just having some Manuka honey tea. What is that?
Yeah, I'm violating the principle. I thought about that, but I'm drinking a Diet Pepsi, I believe. So just whatever is in the fridge.
Oh, okay. We're going to add local Manuka honey. It's very nice. We've got a company down the road called Earthbound Honey that make it, so we sell their stuff on our site. So it's pretty good stuff.
So it's summertime for you. You have all those hives. Are you are you making splits, growing? Do you have them all in one yard?
No, we've got two yards. We've got a main one, and then we've got one on an organic farm, which is in the local area. There's 6 hives here at the moment because we just split them last week. So at the moment we just basically all Langstroth. Yep. Haven't got any top bar hives at the moment, but we are looking at making a long hive with using the full size frames. I think you had some photos of them yesterday, didn't you? That you were showing me, so that's quite interesting. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go.
Photos of a listener's hive, Pedro Blom, I believe his name is, or Bloom. I'm not sure how to say his last name.
Yeah, bring them up. That's fine. Have a look.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, because in New Zealand, the law basically states you have to have an enclosed frame. Okay, there you go. You'll have to talk, man.
Yeah, so this is a listener hive that he sent me. He built it, and it's an interesting piece because it's square, like a Langstroth hive. But if I see the pictures correctly, as I look through them, they tend to have sloped sides on the inside. What he said is he's in Sweden. Now, I don't know if this is two hives or one hive, right? Because if you look at that frame looks relatively square. So this one looks like a Langstroth long hive, and it has the pivoted edge here so that you can, they can start.
So the bees build on it.
And then if you look at this hive, it looks like it's got square sides, or maybe it doesn't, but it definitely has angled interior. So I don't know if this is one or two different hives. But to me, what I was looking at, I'm looking to build something that looks like this. I found this on the internet. It's from yardcraftjunkie.com. And if you look at it, it's individual boards. And I have in my garage, somebody did a oak floor, and I have oak boards that look just like that sitting up in the rafters. They've been there forever, and I'm thinking to myself, that would be a great, beautiful hive to build, and I do want to get some experience with something other than a Langstroth, so I really am looking at this as a potential design.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks very similar to the one that Phil does, from the Barefoot Beekeeper.
Oh, Phil.
It almost looks... Phil Chandler, it looks exactly like his plan. So you can, I think you can download the plans for free. So check it out, guys, because it's is it barefootbeekeeper.com, I think. I'll put it in the show notes.
It's
BioBees, that's it.
Yeah, if you look at this,
because it looks very similar.
It has a foot on it that is made with composite material, and the expectation is that the wood is not sitting. So this particular hive was not built with legs, as you know. It's like a pedestal, and it's built to sit on a cinder block base, and it has a composite board underneath that will not rot. So the wood is not sitting on the wet cinder block and wicking the moisture up and rotting. So this should last. And we were looking at this picture. These little knobs allow you to use like bungee cords to hold the roof down, and it looks like there's knobs on here that allow something to go underneath and hold a closure on the bottom or something. I'm not sure what the plans are for this, but
well, that could be very handy for. We recently had a tornado in Auckland a couple of weeks ago, so that was pretty shocking. And you guys have just had Hurricane Sandy, haven't you? So it's a good idea to shackle down your roofs.
That was a mess for us, as you know. But I actually took some pictures I was showing you last night when we were having a chat. I'll share. Let's see.
Yeah.
Two. This is a picture of my garage. I think if I double click, this tree, which is 30 something plus, fell and hit the corner of the garage, and
Wow.
This is an oak tree that is 30 inches in diameter. It's split right at the base, and it's leaning on another tree that I have to go get. This is the other side of the tree. You can see it hit the garage. It tore the soffit off. This was the gutter that ran the entire length, and it smashed this corner. This corner got pushed back, and this top joist back here is broken. So we got to do some insurance work. You could see here there's a gap. This whole corner got pushed in. Now, my son's car was sitting here, and we pulled it in the garage, and when it hit this wall, it knocked the stuff inside down on his car, so his car got dented and whatever, but it would have been smashed flat had this tree landed on it. So I think we count ourselves fortunate. And as you can see, the trees fell and almost got our hives, but close enough. This whole area over next to the hive is, broken. This tree broke about 4 foot up, and if it had fallen straight, it would have hit that hive that's out in the background. But it actually twisted and turned, and it fell across this way. That other hive is to the left of this one. And that whole yard over there, it missed it by, 10 feet here. So, but everything was okay.
Very
All
lucky.
the hives stayed put. You could see I put cinder blocks underneath, and I put a heavy weight on top, and I strapped them down, and they stayed put for the storm. The wind was blowing 90 miles an hour, and, everything stayed put, so we're okay.
Oh, and I see you've got your pipe hive stand there. Very nice.
Oh, yeah, my PVC hive stand that we put together to get the hives up off.
That's a good idea.
They worked out pretty good. And actually, I have the designs on my website, and people have built a couple of these and sent me pictures of them. The only thing that is here is this bar that goes down underneath is PVC, and the hard wood on the hard bar makes it a little bit slippery. I think what I'm going to do with my next design is just wrap them with tape like you put on a handle of a hockey stick, and just give it that rubbery feel so that it stays locked a little better. But I mean, when the hive is tight, it doesn't move. But if you just set the bottom board on it, it skates around a little on that hard plastic.
Yeah. Oh, looks good.
Now, this is cool. We had our holiday party where we have our Beekeepers Association meeting. And this is what the woods look like there. They're just astonishing, the number of trees. It almost looks like a tornado came through. There's 500 trees in 3 acres down on this property. It's just amazing the amount of work they have to do to clean this up.
Yeah, that's shocking, eh? So it's a lot of clean-up work there. It's not changing back to me. Oh, never mind. What's the next thing we should talk about? So I guess how many hives have you got now? You've got 2.
I have 3 hives right now. I had 5, and I don't want to. I'm not on the CCD bandwagon. I always hear hobbyists say, "Oh, CCD." I have one person who talks about neonicotinoids and whatever. But if ever there was going to be a CCD hive, the one situation that I had in the fall here explains it. I looked at the hive. I actually shot a video of the inspection that I did with this hive. It was full. It had a laying queen. They had brood. Everything was, it was a little short on stores, but it wasn't dire straits short on stores. I rearranged the box in preparation for fall and buttoned it up. I had moved from that hive to another hive, and while I was working on the other hive, that hive did a false swarm. It was really kind of weird the way they came out. I watched them for a while, and then they went back in. And then 2 days later, I was standing on my porch looking across at the hive, and they false swarmed again. Well, that one wasn't false. They actually left. But when I went and looked at the hive, that first false swarm, they hung underneath the bottom on the hive stand that we just looked at. And there was a bunch of dead bees laying on the cinder block underneath. like a pile of them. You could say 2 cups or something like that. It was really strange what happened, and I'm not sure why. That it didn't make sense. But the second time when they left that hive, they swarmed off and left and never came back. If you go in and look in the hive, they left brood, they left eggs, they left a handful of bees. That, by definition, is what a lot of people describe CCD like. Now, I don't know if there was something bad in the hive. There were some discussions amongst beekeepers in New Jersey that we had a really funny summer, and some of the corn in the area had gone to tassel at that time frame. And my hives all sit right next to a cornfield, so it is possible that they got into something. But altruistic, they left. They were gone. Now, did they swarm because they didn't like the hive? Maybe I manipulated it too much. The simplest answer is usually the right answer. Maybe I did something that they didn't particularly like, but it was very strange to me that they left.
You think if
stores, but they weren't terribly short.
Yeah.
There was a lot.
Do they leave brood behind
out in the environment?
Yeah, did they leave any brood behind at all?
They did. They left brood and eggs. I mean, there were fresh eggs in there. They left a handful of nurse bees also, which was really not every bee left. There were still just a small amount, but it was like a swarm. But why would they swarm at that time and leave bees and brood and whatever behind? It was just kind of weird. And they didn't leave enough for that hive to sustain. There was maybe 3-4 dozen bees in the hive. But anyway, that hive went south. And then another hive that I had a laying queen. And it had 2 or 3 frames of brood, probably about mid-July. And I went back like 3 weeks later after coming back from vacation, and the hive was empty. And I don't know what happened there, whether the queen died or what. But so I went from 5 to 3.
Yeah. So you've got 5 now going through the winter, I guess. And when do you guys start up again?
Winter, and I have enough to build. I'm going to have probably 7 or 10 hives come spring. I'll just start doing splits and putting equipment together. I was saying to you before, my mother-in-law was a beekeeper, and all her equipment was sitting out in the back shed. And they're all medium and shallows. And I think what I'm going to do is take all the mediums and just build a couple medium hives and no big boxes in it. I'll have to buy the frames and put them together. And then if I build a long hive and a couple other... I won a hive recently at a beekeeping meeting, a cedar hive. So I should be able to put 9 hives together.
Well, that sounds good. So when you say a medium, you mean a half-size one? Is that right? Because in New Zealand we call them half-size, 3/4 and full. I think you guys call them...
we call them a full, a deep, and a shallow. Right?
What's a shallow? Is it like a
deep, a medium, and a shallow? A deep is a full size. A medium is what you usually put on for honey. And then shallows are for people who just don't want to carry any weight at all. They have really short boxes.
Oh, that's probably like a half-size one, I guess.
Some folks don't like big, heavy deeps. They're too heavy. They weigh 120 pounds full. And so they put 3 mediums on instead of 2 deeps.
Yeah, we do that too. I mean, currently we have 2 fulls, and all our honeys are 3/4, which are shallows. Is that right? Yeah. But yeah, the half depths. So these ones are 3. What size are these ones you've got in the shed, Kevin? 3/4 or shallows? I should convert these.
I have a dozen medium boxes in the garage. I'm just going to give them a quick sand and paint, get them dried hard before spring comes.
Yeah, that sounds good. And they haven't been used for a long time, then.
They haven't been used for a long time, and there were some shallows out there too. Some honey boxes. I pulled them in. They're a little grubby. I don't know. They had a really funny foundation in them. It was like plastic cellophane with metal crimped edges. And somebody, the state apiarist told me what kind of, they're really an old form factor foundation. They used to build these plastic cellophane sheets and they would put wax on them, and that's what people used back in the 90s or whatever this was that they had these. I'm pretty confident my in-laws
haven't seen those before.
Disease or problems. Their bees just perish from varroa and starved, as is usually the case with hives that don't survive. So,
yeah, I guess you could just you could. What we do here is I do paraffin dipping, where they get a hive and they put it into a big vat and they sort of boil it with paraffin wax, to make sure there's no. So that kills AFB spores and. We don't have a European foulbrood here, so we don't worry about that, but stuff like that. Especially with old hives that people get from, like from their granddad's shed or something. I've heard of cases where they've been in the shed for 40 years and then they have AFB in them. So you've just got to be careful about that. But as long as you're sure of the source, it's fine. Trust the person. Yeah.
The key thing is just keep rotating your comb, keep your stuff straight, don't cross-contaminate or whatever, although if you've listened to my podcast, I'm not the best at that. There's times when, I only have 3 hives, and I know they're fairly healthy, and you're not supposed to, and the first time that I do it and something bad happens, I'm sure that I'll stop doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to... Yeah, I know what you mean, like try and have like frames specifically to hives and stuff, but it can be difficult when you're doing a lot of splits and stuff, so... Because sometimes they might need another frame of brood or something.
It's not...
You're going to move them over.
I learned a hard lesson, which is this. It's not the disease and, foul brood and all that other stuff that I'm worried about. It's the fact that I won one hive, and my wife bought some hives, and we got that first hive that we started with, and none of my equipment matches. And you take a frame out of a Kelly box, one vendor, and you put it in a Brushy Mountain box, and the bee space is not maintained, and they're building bridge comb on the bottom. And the problem with exchanging equipment is the fact that nothing matches. If I had my druthers, I'd get rid of it all by one manufacturer, which is what I recommend in my getting started guide. Pick a manufacturer and stay with them, because when you start mixing equipment, it becomes really a mess.
Yeah, you think that'll be built to the same standard, eh? Because I mean, like the Langstroth standard is, it is called a standard for a reason. So I know what you mean, but
the frames are the secret sauce, right? And everybody builds frames in a different manner, and that becomes the difficulty.
And you get different gaps at the bottom and the top of the frames, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that some people have like a bigger gap on the top bar.
Change, and some of them have the metal strips that raise it up so that you can slide them back and forth, and they don't propolize them. So they all have a different mousetrap inside, but the outer dimensions are the same. Yeah.
Well, the internal dimensions are just as important, aren't they? If not more important, really. Because, that's the other thing. The thickness of the wood matters too. It's got to be 20 mils or... what's that thing? It's... I don't know what 20 mils in American measurements is.
3/4
So we're metric here. Yeah, that's it. Because that makes a difference too, because then you can't put 10 frames in, If the wood's thick, you can only put like 8 or 9 frames in it, so...
You really learn when you build your own stuff. I never owned... I have one nuke setup that I purchased, but the rest of the nuke stuff I buy or I build. And I built a nuke not too long ago, and I got the dimension wrong, and it squeezes the frames in, and you can't get them in and out. So when they weld them in, and you help them weld in, then you're really,
you're stuck forever.
I had to take that one box that I messed up and unscrew it, and thankfully I screwed it and didn't glue it. I screw everything. I use wood screws or sheetrock screws. I know that's not probably the right way, but...
I think it works fine, to be honest. I mean, I think screws are more secure anyway, and they're probably, when the wood warps, they don't pull out as easy. So,
I've had it where one end rots, and you have to cut the whole box up or do whatever, and you could still unscrew that end and put a replacement in. So for the cost of the screw, you can keep the box alive. And I don't know. Sometimes I know beekeepers are very frugal, but I'm not that fastidious about it. A couple dollars here or there is not going to break the bank.
Yeah, exactly.
About 3 to 5 to 10 hives. If I were a commercial guy, every screw would be very painful because you're multiplying that by hundreds.
Yeah, but then saying that, if you've got good gear, it lasts longer anyway. So,
I was just noticing my hives need a coat of paint out there. Right, they've been in service long enough that they're starting to show a little bit of wear on the surface, and I'll have to deploy boxes and switch out the frames into them and bring that stuff in and give it a fresh coat.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. Good winter activity. Absolutely. So what kind of pests do you have in your area, Kevin? That you because I know you've got bears. Do you have hive beetles there at all? Because we don't have hive beetles here at all, luckily, or we don't have bears either, so that's good.
Count yourself.
What would you? Yeah, I know. I've seen photos of hives that have been, destroyed by bears. It's shocking, isn't it? They basically rip them apart, don't they?
I did a short little piece. My joke is that here in the U.S. they have this commercial from Holiday Inn hotel chains where the person is in some situation. I don't know if you've ever seen it. The person's in some sort of situation that requires somebody really smart to think it, and the guy gives the advice, and the person says to him, what are you, an engineer or whatever? And he says, no, but I stayed in a Holiday Inn Express last night, right? So I did a beekeeping presentation on bears, and I'm not New Jersey Fish and Game or whatever, but I read their stuff from their website and presented it, and bears have become a problem in New Jersey. Typically, not that everybody understands the nomenclature of New Jersey, but Route 78 runs due west of New York City through the state, and everything north of 78 is very wilderness-like. It's the best way to describe it. It's hilly, it's mountains, lakes, dense forest. And then you start to get to farmland when you get south of 78, basically where we are. For those in the United States, no, New Jersey is not all industrial. We do have farmland, and our thing is called the Garden State. But anyway, that comes from a long joke here where people, Gary, think that we all live in the armpit of New York City. But to the point that bears have always stayed kind of north of that 78 corridor, and they started moving down. And this is the first year that I recall we really saw a lot of bears in our community. There was literally one across the street from me. I didn't know it at the time. And at our holiday party, there were probably 3 or 4 people who talked about the fact that the bears moved in and did damage to their hives. I have a picture somewhere. I have to dig that out, maybe during a session here, of a bee yard totally destroyed, and it has a fence set up. So, but that's a new pest. Hive beetles are here. We have the commercial guys go north to pollinate the cranberries, and they drive through our area and they drop off whatever they have. So they always thought that hive beetles would not be a problem in New Jersey. We don't have sandy soil, but our soil is soft enough that they can come out of the hive and go in and bury into the ground and incubate the way they do. If you're not in full shade, turn that around. If you're not in full sun here, this year you had problems. We had such a warm winter last year that the pupa, or whatever you call it, survived the winter, is my best guess. I don't know. I'm not an entomologist, but in the spring we saw far more hive beetle than we've ever seen, and so many people talked about losing their hives this year, and I've never heard that in New Jersey, right? So they have made it to New Jersey full swing. And, we have Varroa Me personally, I live in a very wooded farmland type area, so I have skunks. I literally have possums and groundhogs. There's 3 groundhog holes within 5 feet of my hive bases. They're just in the field.
Yeah.
The deer are there every day. They walk through. Everything.
You didn't have
is there.
Yeah, because didn't you say, I think it was in your previous podcast about one of the deers may have knocked a hive over or something?
That's my
You
speculation.
weren't sure what. Yeah.
Sharon called me one day. I was at work and said the hive is laying on its back. Something knocked the stand over. That the bottom board and the bottom box were sitting on its back. The top box, the inner cover, and the roof were upside down. And something had just knocked the thing over completely. We suspect there's literally deer trail 3 feet in front of the hive. They walk along the edge of the cornfield. And it is possible they got spooked or something happened. There's no sign of bear tracks. There was no sign of, I know that a raccoon or anything, skunk, couldn't push a hive over because
it's pretty unlikely.
Of it. So the logical conclusion was a deer, but we really don't know.
That's no good. Oh, and that was the last official question is, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started beekeeping that you know now? Or before you started beekeeping? We had a bit of a talk about that before, didn't we?
Yeah. The joke is how it is.
How can we sell honey for $100 a jar? That's probably one thing.
Opportunity. No, I have to say, there's a lot that we've learned, really, about what we're doing. There's a lot of education that has come along the way. We were very fortunate our first years. We had no idea what we were doing, and our bees overwintered, and we got honey before we started with the nuke. We got honey in July. The bees survived the winter, and it came out, and we split the hive in the spring. Our first year, everything went great. I listened to other people's first year experience, and it sounds nothing like that. So I don't know what kind of gods shined on us. That's probably why I'm still doing it. The thing I wish I would have known more about was some of the equipment stuff that we talked about. I would have stayed with one manufacturer. We were fortunate that the group we got involved in, our Beekeepers Association, was very proactive about teaching people about the mites and taking care of treatments and whatever. Our New Jersey State apiarist says he's great. He is very candid with people that if you don't treat your hives in spring and early summer, they will not overwinter because a varroa mite will, create your hive environment that's going to be not conducive for making winter bees. I mean, when we first got started, the first meeting, he was saying that, and he's said it at every meeting ever since. So I don't think it's about the integrated pest management and all that stuff. We did really well with that. I don't know. To me, it's been, I don't want to say easy, but it's been what I expected. Not difficult doing the thing. One of the themes I had on my podcast for this year, talking about when I started my podcast, the reason I did it was to record our beekeeping experience, right? My kids someday will go back and look at this, and I think they'll enjoy it. But I also use this as a means of recording because I'm fastidious about record keeping and things like that. And I've learned a lot just going back and looking at what we've done and how we did it. And the one thing that I've learned is it took that time to get sensibility, right? That's my 2012 objective was I'd been getting stung. I didn't have a good routine for going in the hive. The methodology in which you work the frames, like I came up with good systems, but I just didn't have that touch. And this year, I more than ever focused on exactly what I'm going to do when I get in there and how I'm going to do it, and being like, I don't know, somebody was describing it like yoga, that slow movement.
Yeah, yeah.
This type of thing, like, that movement.
You gotta be
pull the frame out, take it over, and set it down, and not kick it over, and make the bees mad and get stung, and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That sensibility is the fun thing for 2012.
You've got to be at one with the bees, don't you?
You got to be at one. There's no doubt.
You do, man.
Sometimes you can be at one with the bees and they don't care.
No. That's true. I find early evening they're not very happy. They go, the day's over, go away.
There's a video on our YouTube channel. I'm sure you've been over there and peeked at it.
Yeah, it's some great videos on there.
So. Yep. There is one video where I was trying to go out, I think last year, and get the hive set up for fall. And I went out, and it was the only opportunity I had for that weekend. And rain was coming, and it had just started to rain, and they lit me up. I got stung like 5 times, and I was mad, as you could see on the video. I was forcing it. I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing really well, or whatever. And there's just some of those days that you'd really like to give back, in beekeeping, but most of them are pretty good. My thing that bothers me most is I love those days when I have the opportunity to stroll out there at 11 o'clock and take whatever time I want to dig through those hives as much as I want, and I don't have anything that I have to go to a soccer game or, some family function somewhere where somebody's having a birthday party and,
Yeah.
But it's not that way. Life doesn't structure itself that way. You almost always have some activity going where you got to get in, you got to get out, you got to get a shower and go,
Yeah. You can't just sort of take the time and just be with the bees kind of thing. Yeah, it's true.
Do you have, I'm going to say this, and I think a lot of people could probably identify with it. I'm happy to be a hobby beekeeper. And what I mean by that is, I think if I had to do this for a living, I would be forced to do things that I wouldn't want to do. So the ability to build a hive with screws, the ability to build a nice hive stand, play around.
Yeah.
It is a true hobby and fun, no pressure, on our terms, where I think once it became too commercial, it would take all the fun out of it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Because it's more of it's a business then, isn't it? It's not not a fun thing to do, and you have to and they have to produce honey, otherwise you don't pay your mortgage, basically. So it's a whole different ball game, isn't it? So that's why I don't think we'll ever be commercial beekeepers. But we obviously sell beekeeping stuff as part of our business, but not selling honey. So that's the thing. Yeah, because it's a lot of big investments.
The other thing about honey is, how much honey do you need?
Quite a lot.
I have boxes of honey in the other room, literally. And I could sell it, but I don't want to be bothered with selling it. And I'm starting to get to the point where I think we're doing it wrong. We need to leave the honey for the bees. We're taking their honey and we're feeding them sugar water, and I think we're compromising. And, I won't pull out a soapbox, but it's been said to me a lot of times that the nutrition of the honey is as important in the environment of the hive as, propolis and other things that create that atmosphere. And every little stress of us taking... Have you taken honey off and had the bees kind of have that tone to them? You have, right? I've seen it.
Yeah. Well, we generally leave 2 full boxes on there. For them, including the brood over winter. So we do leave a lot more honey on them than other people, but we don't mind. That's fine.
It's spring for you right now, right?
Yeah, spring now. Yeah.
When did we say the dandelion bloom here, and the forsythia? When did you have your first plant, whatever your marker is, come to term for you?
Yeah, normally the dandelions as well. They sort of happen here in about September-ish. That's when sort of spring starts.
So you have
they're flowering. Yeah, at the moment, yeah, it's full on. Probably goes till about March, sort of April.
Okay.
So we'll then we're going into our winter. So our winter's kind of June-ish.
Your winter's in June. So do you have I don't know the term is, you're not in spring right now, are you? Is that what you call it?
Oh, no, we're officially summer now. 1st of December is officially summer.
Do you have a fall?
So we've had spring. Not really. We don't really have seasons like other countries. We basically have you have like spring, summer, then it rains. That's winter. So it kind of rains a lot more than normal.
But you said you don't
because
it's not 30 degrees every day, kind of.
Nah, we never have snow in Auckland, but you do have snow in the South Island of New Zealand. They have quite heavy snow, but we're far enough north. We don't have snow, so we've had sleet and stuff occasionally, and frost sometimes in the mornings. It gets down to 0 degrees sometimes. I'm not sure what it's in American things.
It's
what's 0 degrees in centigrade?
It's 30. Right now it's 39 degrees. 40 something was the high. I think it got to 42 today. It'll be 25 degrees Fahrenheit. You guys use Celsius, right?
Yeah. So at the moment it's about
32 freezing for us. But the thing with us is New Jersey is like Russia. It has such diverse climates. You know, the north of 78, as I described, there's mountainous regions or whatever, and when it snows, they get 3 feet. And then I live in the rolling hills area, which is farmland and, light hills, no mountains to speak of, although we have something called the Saraland Mountain Ridge nearby to us. And then you get down in southern New Jersey, and it's flat, and it goes down to the shore, and it's like a Piedmont region. We have totally different climates. In my area, we have a good spring nectar flow. We have a reasonable fall flow. But just to the south of us, they have no fall flow. And they have no choice but to feed their bees in the fall for them to overwinter. So it is kind of weird. We're in that transitional. I don't know what it's like in New Hampshire or whatever. I get responses from people who, listen to our podcast, and they come from Utah or they come from New Hampshire, and they describe their conditions. And some of them are just like us, and others they have completely different seasons like what you're describing.
Yeah, because it's a huge country, isn't it, America? So I suppose you get totally different weather and stuff. Like you get the east and the west coast is totally different as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny.
Whereas,
I guess the vision that I have is that where I am in the mid-Atlantic region, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, if you go due west and you go through like the northern part of Virginia, Tennessee, the Ohio Valley, and some of the Minnesota area, you see similar climate. But if you go west of that to Montana and, over to the West Coast, it's different. The climate and the terrain is different. The whole breadbasket area, Kansas and, north of Texas and whatever, is flat, plains, dry. My in-laws live in Florida. They're very tropical-like, but they have winter. It's 30 degrees there sometimes. And so it is an extremely diverse climate across the United States. And I have people who send me notes, and, I talk about the fall nectar flow and this and that and whatever, and they have completely different thing going on. So that's why I always preface things with, this is what's happening in the mid-Atlantic. You got to go talk to your state apiarist or agencies or whatever and figure out how to react to your stuff that you have going on.
Oh yeah, I mean, all beekeeping's local, isn't it?
Yeah, no doubt.
Nothing's. Yeah, exactly.
So are you
That's
splitting
good.
hives and doing all that work right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. You use
Yeah,
Italian bees,
splitting hives.
Carnelian bees, Russian bees. What type of bees do you have?
Oh, mainly Italian. Italian/Kiwi bees. Because the Kiwi bees are a mix of everything.
They're a mix
So,
of what?
they're not everything.
Yeah.
Mix of Carnelian and Italian. Because a lot of them are open mated, so they just mate with whatever your neighbour's bees are. So,
Where do you purchase your bees? You know, most of ours come from Georgia, California, Hawaii. Those are the three main hubs in the United States. But
not really. Just local Auckland people. We haven't purchased bees for a while now, so yeah, just mainly around Auckland. We don't have packaged bees like you guys do, eh? People tend to only sell nukes or full hives. I think they do packaged bees, but they send them to America. They have these like long tubes, and they get sent across on the plane. It's quite amazing. I think a lot of commercial guys do that. They send like huge tubes of bees to America and stuff. And I think we also export.
A lot of people here in our region order their bees through mail. But there are some beekeepers who go down and pick up trailers and bring them back of bees. I know I've always thought that the nuke way was the best way to start because it's a more established hive and you just dump it in and off they go. I don't buy bees anymore, but that's my objective. The queens that we have came from a relatively well-known breeder, Sue Kobe, in the U.S. You may have heard of her.
I have heard of it, yeah.
They're very strong hygienic stock, and my bees are pretty robust. The hives that we have been pretty well received. Now, the funny thing about it is I have just a handful of hives. All around me, there's a commercial guy, and he has Italian bees. And my girls, as you've heard in the podcast, go out and hang out with the Italian boys. So they, too, are mutts. I'm interested in learning a little bit about Russian bees, but we haven't seen that prevalent here in our area. I know some people have been starting to look into that, but when I started and the Carnelian bees are better for us in our climate. The Italian bees wouldn't fly over 50 degrees. You know, if it was 50 degrees Fahrenheit or less, they were locked in. And it's 40 degrees today, and my girls were flying, so...
Yeah, they're probably a bit hardier, eh? But they kind of build up quicker, don't they?
I don't know. They just seem to be... They got it going on. You know what's funny is, I wanted to mention this. I have screen bottom boards on my hives. I pulled the screens out, or the what do you call them? They're made of coroplast.
Oh, like we call them inspection trays, yeah.
So I pulled those out and looked at them today. There was mites all over them. I was really surprised.
Oh.
I saw a varroa mite.
Wow.
On hive number 3, there were about 6 to 8. On hive number 2, there were probably 2 dozen. And on hive number 1, I saw a handful. So
how long, what period is that? No. Is that like a 24-hour period or a week or?
It's when I buttoned them up in October, I slid the trays underneath, and they've been in there ever since.
Oh, that's not too bad then. Yeah, that's not too bad. It was 8 or 9 for, how long is that? Like 2 months. It's pretty low, really. I mean, you are going to get mites there, aren't you? Yeah.
They were treated for varroa July, August. Look there again in September. If you followed my videos, you know I was pretty diligent about that, as usual, because that's the key to getting them over winter.
Yeah, to have a good low mite count, eh? So what do you use in America for?
I always put solid bottom boards under my hives. This year I left the screen boards in. So I've never had the opportunity to do that particular activity, which is pull the tray out and see what's on it,
Yeah, because I guess normally you wouldn't. Because you have a solid bottom, it'd just sit on the bottom, wouldn't it?
Right.
Oh, that's good.
You wouldn't know till spring, right? And you opened it up.
No. Yeah. But I think the other thing is the mites probably just jump on bees again if they fall out of the cells, if it's a solid bottom board. Whereas now that you've got the mesh board, you probably find that you might lose a lot of mites through that, out of the hive, hopefully.
Yeah.
Bit of luck.
So you listened to my latest episode, you know, I'm going to build a long hive if I can find the time over this break. And I have my winter projects going. I wanted to show you the hive scale that Bob Kloss put together. He's our new club association president.
Okay. We'll show people that. That'd be good. That was a bathroom scale idea, wasn't it?
It was a bathroom scale thing. So it came from, let me give credit where credit is due. This is New Hampshire Beekeepers Association had a journal on their page, and somebody created this box, and it has the scale upside down, and it has this mirror contraption like a tray that slides in and out. And if you look, there's the tray piece, and it has these mirrors that, you know, like a telescope, change the way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, standard.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like sitting on the box. And you come in and you look at this little mirror piece here, and you can tell how much the hive weighs. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's great. Yeah. I wonder how stable it is. But
my thing, I have links to this document from New Hampshire, and some other person, last name was Allen. He had a feature on it. But what I have here is, this is Bob Kloss's one he put together. He has his hive sitting on a cinder block, and he went to Lowe's and just bought or Walmart or someplace, and he bought a scale. And this is a mirror, and you see it's in reverse. So his hive weighs 57 pounds. There's what it looks like. He's got a quilt board on top. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, which is very good. Yeah.
And you can see a little bit closer here. So it's a pretty neat setup he's got. And he and I agreed that we were going to put these together and keep our hive weights. And as you heard in my last episode, he feeds a lot and I don't. So it'll be interesting to see how the weight fluctuations change. But, you know, you can only give so much credit to that, because I live in a different place. Even though we only live about 10 miles from each other, I live in an area where there's a lot of farms around us. He does too, but we have completely different sets of forage, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, no, it'd be interesting. You should do like a graph of it and see what it's like over the winter months, eh? See if it, you know, when it obviously it'll go down, I would guess. You know, as you lose food and probably bees, because the old bees will die, won't they?
Yeah. Plus they're going to eat whatever, and then they're going to go out and do cleansing flights and stuff. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we better wrap this up, but just stay on the line, Kevin. I'll keep talking to you, but we'll wrap up the broadcast here. So, what for people that haven't visited your site before, what's your URL?
It's www.bkcorner.org.
Right, yep, because you've got a podcast, and do you also do blog posts as well, or just the podcast at the moment? Just podcasting, eh?
Right now, I've been keeping my stuff on the blog on that website. It's a home-built website. I'm actually moving it to a blog format probably by the end of the year, and I'll post the websites, but then I'll also carry some features that I have. The blogging side of it, I usually post in between episodes on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/beekeeperscorner. I also have so I maintain the website for the Northwest New Jersey Beekeepers Association. It's nwba.njbeekeepers.org, and we keep track of all that we have going on. And then I kind of do a joint situation where I'm posting videos of stuff that we do with our association, plus videos from my yard and other things that I get involved in on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/nwnjba. All that stuff is linked to from my website. So there's plenty of opportunity to keep posting things.
Oh, absolutely. No, the YouTube channel is very good. I've actually had a look at that. It's got some good stuff on it. Because it's actually where we got the
things fresh and going. I have a lot of subscribers.
Yeah.
Good questions going on there. You know, people posting comments and stuff, and it's.
Oh, we'll have to. Yeah. Well, we'll get all those links in the show notes anyway. What's that? Yeah.
Media,
well,
right?
thanks everyone. What's that? Russian media?
Social.
Oh, social media. Yeah. You got to keep it going, don't you? Keep it social.
Yes.
Exactly. Oh well, thanks for coming along today, Kevin. It's been good to speak to you, and we must do this again.
I've enjoyed this little chat.
Yeah, cool.
Do this with another podcaster.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stay on the line there. We'll just end the broadcast. So thanks everyone for watching. If anyone is actually watching, we don't know, so we'll have to see. But we'll see you next month for another podcast. And keep the bees buzzing. See you later.